Chapter 37. Danny. I was worried about Lindsay. It was nearly midnight and she hadn't returned with my car. Arnie was missing too. Spencer thought maybe he went into town, but no one remembered seeing him leave. "Hey Danny, think fast," Mayanne shouted. A rubber ball bounced against my head before I could raise my hands from the water. Everyone laughed. I paddled over to the ball, which was bobbing on top of the water, and heaved it as hard as I could back at Mayanne. Laughing, she caught it easily. "Over here," Deidre shouted. She was wearing a tiny blue bikini that she never wore during the day, and she looked totally awesome. Just as Deidre went up to grab the ball, Spencer grabbed her around the waist and spun her back down into the water. The ball sailed over Deidre's head. They both came up laughing and sputtering. I was glad to see everyone unwinding, having a good time for a change. It was such a humid night, like living in a steam bath. Spencer and I had been playing poker for hours. We knew we could never get to sleep. We jumped into the pool, trying to cool off. A few minutes later, Deidre, Pete, and Mayanne had joined us. We were splashing around, having silly floating competitions, tossing the ball around, just generally goofing. It was great. But then, a little before midnight, I realized that Lindsay wasn't back, and I had a gnawing feeling at the pit of my stomach, a slightly uncomfortable, nervous feeling. I was up on the diving board, ready to show off my famous reverse cannonball, when Lindsay finally came through the gate. I called to her. She waved and started toward the guest house. "Hey, come over here," I shouted. I jumped down from the diving board. She hesitated. "Come on, jump in," Spencer shouted to Lindsay. She laughed. "I'm dressed." "So what?" he shouted back. I trotted over to her. "Everything okay?" I asked. She nodded. "Sort of." She twirled my car keys in her hand. "I had a little problem with Arnie," she said, making a face. "Arnie? Where is he?" I asked, confused. I was dripping water on her sneakers, I saw, so I took a step back. "He's enjoying a nice walk back," Lindsay replied dryly. "I don't get it," I confessed. "He hid in the back seat. He nearly scared me to death. I dropped him off," she said, sighing, "on the highway. He'll probably hitch a ride. He'll be here soon. I hadn't driven that far." I shook my head. "Weird," I muttered. "Lindsay, get changed," Spencer called. "Come on in and cool off." "The water's great," Pete called to her. He started to shout something else, but Mayanne ducked his head under the water, starting a playful wrestling match. Deidre performed a perfect swan dive. Everyone applauded. "Maybe I will get changed," Lindsay said, talking more to herself than to me. "I'm totally drenched." She shook her head. Her hair was all windblown, and her forehead was all sweaty, but she looked really excellent to me. "What a night," she mumbled. "Back in a minute." She headed off to get changed. I watched her disappear inside. I was thinking about Arnie, stranded on the highway. Bet he won't be in a good mood when he gets back, I thought. Back in the pool, Spencer and Pete were working on their butterfly strokes. Pete was smaller than Spencer, but he was a stronger swimmer. I jumped in, eager to join them. My butterfly is pitiful. I need all the help I can get. Deidre and Mayanne had climbed out and were heading to the diving board, laughing together about something. Lindsay appeared a few seconds later in a one-piece black swimsuit. Without hesitating, she stepped up to the side of the pool at the deep end and plunged in. I flashed her a smile as she surfaced. "Feel better?" "This is the life," she called back. "It doesn't get any better than this," Spencer chimed in. Lindsay started swimming slow, steady laps. She had a good stroke, I saw, but she held her head too high out of the water. "Come on, Danny, butterfly race. 2 laps, Pete called. I nodded and swam over to line up. Up at the edge of the pool, I glimpsed Deidre and Mayanne laughing and goofing around. Deidre reached up to adjust the straps around her neck, and Mayanne swiped at them, trying to pull the bikini top off. "Hey, watch it!" Deidre cried, laughing. They wrestled some more. Then Deidre let out a squeal of surprise as Mayanne pushed her into the pool. Deidre sank with a huge splash. Spencer, Pete, and I laughed and applauded. Standing on the pool edge, Mayanne took a low bow. Then, as Deidre surfaced, sputtering and choking, I heard a shrill scream. I spun around, startled. It took me a little while to realize it was Lindsay. She was screaming her head off, the strangest, most frightening scream I'd ever heard. Relentless, high-pitched howls, like an animal caught in a trap. Spencer got to her first. I came up on her other side. We both dragged her, screaming still, to the side of the pool in the shallow end. Lindsay, what's wrong? What is it?" I cried. She kept shrieking. She didn't seem to hear me. Lindsay! Lindsay! Spencer shouted, grabbing her shoulders. Her entire body shuddered. I'm not Lindsay, she sobbed. The others all huddled around. What's wrong with her? What is she saying? Mayanne asked, hands at her waist, staring down at us from the pool edge. I'm not Lindsay, Lindsay screamed again. Lindsay, take a deep breath, Pete instructed her. Lindsay, listen to me. Take a deep breath and... I'm not Lindsay, she cried shrilly. My memory, it came back to me when Mayanne pushed Deidre in. It all came back to me. She was breathing hard, her chest heaving up and down, sort of sobbing with each breath. Lindsay, Pete said, his voice low and calm. Lindsay, listen to me. But I'm not Lindsay, she insisted. Lindsay is dead. Mayanne gasped. I felt a chill run down my back. I'm Marissa, Lindsay cried. Marissa Dutton. I killed Lindsay 2 years ago. Chapter 38. Marissa. Danny and Spencer walked me to the common room in the guest house. They were both being so nice to me. Danny wrapped a big beach towel around my shoulders. Spencer hurried to my room and brought me back a white terry cloth robe. I felt so strange, excited and relieved, confused and frightened, all at the same time. At least now I knew who I was. Now I knew I wasn't Lindsay Beck. I wasn't the dead lifeguard. It had all come back to me in a single flash of vivid memory. It had happened 2 summers ago, a summer of horror, horror that still hadn't ended. 2 summers ago, but now the memory was so strong, so bright, so real to me, I felt it had all happened yesterday. Spencer and Danny huddled close to me on a leather couch. Do you want to talk about it? Danny asked. I guess, I replied uncertainly. I felt so mixed up, so totally wired, I decided it might make me feel better to tell them the story, to get it out. You were a lifeguard here last summer, Danny asked, his eyes locked on mine. No, not last summer, I told him, 2 summers ago. Lindsay Beck was a lifeguard that summer, too. Lindsay and I were friends. We were roommates in the lifeguard dorm. She was from Shadyside, too. I pulled the robe tighter and stuffed my hands into the big pockets. We weren't best friends, I continued, picturing Lindsay, poor Lindsay, as I talked. But we were friends. One afternoon, soon after the club opened, Lindsay and I had a stupid argument. What about? Spencer broke in, running a hand back through his dark, wet hair. I shrugged. I don't even remember. Something really dumb and unimportant, I replied. We were standing at the edge of the pool, near where Mayanne and Deidre were standing tonight. We were wrestling, playfully at first, but it quickly got more intense. I sighed. The memory was so strong, so overwhelmingly horrible. Lindsay was wearing a blue bikini. I shoved her. I didn't mean to hurt her or anything. I was angry, but I never meant to hurt her. My voice trailed off as I relived the terrible moment. She fell into the pool? Danny asked softly. I nodded. She fell. She hit her head on the side, on the concrete. Her head, it split open. She sank into the pool. The water, the blue water filled with blood. It was an accident, a horrible accident. I wiped the tears from my eyes with the sleeve of my robe. I was breathing hard, my head pounding. She died? Danny asked, hesitantly, after a long silence. I nodded. She died. I stared straight ahead. The room, the furniture, the diving posters on the wall, all became a soft blur. I was in the hospital for a long time after that, I told them. Marissa, if this is too painful, Danny started to say. I shook my head. I want to get it out, I told him. I want to get the whole story out. I think I'll feel better if I do. Spencer brought me a cup of cold water from the water cooler in the corner. I gulped it down. Then I continued. I had to go to a mental hospital, because after the accident, I assumed Lindsay's identity. I saw the surprise on the boys' faces. I turned my eyes straight ahead to the wall. My voice came out low and steady. I thought I was Lindsay. I really believed I was Lindsay. I guess I felt so guilty that I had to bring her back to life. So I became her. I brought Lindsay back to life by becoming her. I had taken a lot of her stuff after her death from our dorm room. I wore her clothes and used her things. I really thought they were mine, that I was her. I was in the hospital for several months, I continued. I don't really remember how long. Eventually I got better. I became myself, Marissa again. The doctors worked hard to remove my guilt. They tried to make me realize that Lindsay's death was an accident, a tragic accident, that I couldn't blame myself for the rest of my life." I turned from Danny to Spencer. Danny had his head lowered, a solemn expression on his usually cheerful face. Spencer tapped his hand on the arm of the couch. He avoided my glance. "So they sent me home to my parents," I continued with a sigh. "I had missed an entire school year, and last summer, it was gone too. All that time was gone, but I was glad to be home in Shadyside, and things went okay for this past school year, but—" I swallowed hard. I was so glad to tell the story. I thought it would be easy, but it was so difficult, so painful to be living it again as I told it. I took a deep breath. "I guess the hospital sent me home too soon. I guess I wasn't ready to be Marissa full time. I ran away from home this summer. I just sneaked out early one morning." "You mean your parents don't know you're here?" Spencer asked. I shook my head. I pictured my parents. They must be so worried, so frantic. My poor parents. They've had so much sadness, all because of me. "I sneaked out," I repeated, removing my hands from the robe pocket and wrapping them around my chest in a tight protective hug. "I became Lindsay again, and I sneaked out. I got a bus from Shadyside, and I came back here. I came back here thinking I was Lindsay, thinking I was supposed to be a lifeguard again." I sighed. "Why did I come back? I don't know. I don't really know. I guess I had to come back to the place where I had killed Lindsay." The story was finished. I settled back on the couch, my arms still wrapped around myself, hot tears rolling down my cheeks. A heavy silence fell over the room. No one spoke. No one moved. Finally, Spencer broke the silence. He turned to me, his dark eyes probing mine. I just don't understand one thing," he said hesitantly. "Why did you kill Cassie and Pug?" The question sent a cold shiver down my back. "I don't know," I told him. Chapter 39. Marissa. I stared at Spencer blankly. His question had caught me completely by surprise. Danny had a startled expression on his face, too. I jumped to my feet and stared down at Spencer. "I didn't kill them," I cried shrilly. Then I added, "At least, I don't remember." "You didn't remember who you were," Spencer said thoughtfully. "Maybe you killed them and blocked that memory away, too?" "No," I protested, pressing my hands against my waist. "Why are you saying that? Why would I kill them? I had no reason." I stopped. I suddenly remembered something. Standing in front of Spencer. "Whoa, hold on a minute, Spencer," I said, thinking hard. "You said you were here at the club that summer. You said you recognized me." "Yes, but," Spencer began. His dark eyes flashed. His cheeks turned red. "Why didn't you call me Marissa?" I demanded. "Why didn't you say something when I told you my name was Lindsay?" He raised both hands as if holding me back. "I didn't really remember," he said. "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." "But Spencer," I interrupted. "It was such a crazy summer, Marissa," Spencer continued. "I had just arrived. The club had been open for only a few days, and everyone was just getting settled. Suddenly, one girl lifeguard was dead, and another was taken away. I remembered seeing you, but then you were gone, and I didn't really remember your name. I didn't remember which one you were. I'm sorry." I studied his expression. He seemed really embarrassed. Suddenly, Danny got to his feet. "I have to go tell Pete about this," he said. He glanced out the window to the pool area. It was quiet outside. "Guess everyone has gone to bed. Well, I'd better wake Pete. I think he'd want to know about this." "I've got to call my parents," I cried. "I've got to call them right away and tell them I'm okay." "Use the phone in Pete's office," Danny said, pointing in the right direction. "It'll be totally private. They'll sure be glad to hear from you." He smiled at me and tossed his towel over his shoulder. "Glad you're getting things straight, Lindsay. Marissa." Spencer gazed up at me from the couch. "Do you want me to come with you?" he asked with concern. "Will you be okay?" "I'll be okay," I told him. "I'll call home. Then I'll go to bed. Thanks, Spencer." He and Danny disappeared out the door. I made my way to Pete's office. I was so excited I couldn't think clearly. Everything passed by in a blur. What should I say to Mom and Dad, I wondered. How can I explain what happened? I knew my mother would burst into happy tears and not be able to say a word. But what would my dad say? They must think I'm dead somewhere, I realized with a shudder. I've been away almost 2 weeks. I didn't leave them a note. I didn't leave a hint about where I was going. I felt so bad for them. How could I cause them so much pain? My heart pounding, I darted into Pete's office and clicked on the ceiling light. Then I made my way to his desk and reached for the phone. Before I could pick up the receiver, I heard footsteps. I glanced over to see Spencer stop in the doorway. "Marissa, are you okay?" he asked. "Telling that story must have been so upsetting to you. I just wanted to make sure you were all right." "Thanks," I said, forcing a smile. "I'm okay, really. I'm just trying to figure out how to tell my parents." Before I could finish my sentence, the phone rang. I cried out, startled. Spencer took a few steps into the room. Who would be calling after midnight? I picked up the receiver and heard a woman's voice. I could tell instantly that she was very stressed out. "Is this the North Beach Country Club?" she asked. Pete's speakerphone was on. Spencer and I both could hear her. "Yes, it is," I replied. "This is Mrs. Brown," the woman said. "I must apologize for not calling sooner. You must all be wondering why my son Spencer never showed up for his lifeguard job." Chapter 40. Marissa. "Huh?" I gasped in surprise. The woman's trembling voice sounded tinny on the speakerphone. It's been so awful," she stammered. "I don't understand," I told her. "You said that Spencer—" "He was murdered," Mrs. Brown explained with a sob. "The day before he was supposed to report to the club. I know I should have called sooner, but I haven't been able to do anything." There was a long pause. I could hear her shallow breathing. She was trying to keep herself together. Finally, she continued, "I was in shock. The doctors, they had to sedate me. I've lost all track of time. I don't know if it's day or night." "That's okay," I said shakily. "I understand. I'm so sorry," she broke in, starting to cry. "Spencer, my boy, he's dead. I thought I should call you. He was a good boy. He would have made a good lifeguard. She burst into loud sobs. The phone went dead. I stared down at the phone, feeling totally confused. Then I turned my eyes to the doorway. "Spencer, what did she mean?" I asked. But he was gone. I dashed out into the hall. "Spencer?" I could hear footsteps, running. Down the hall, I saw a shadow dart around the corner. "Spencer?" I started to run after it. The woman's heartbreaking sobs echoed in my ears. What did she mean? Why did she say Spencer was dead? I turned the corner, breathing hard. No one there. The glass door led to the pool area. Had he gone out this way? I pushed the door open and stepped outside. The night was hot and still. The pool was empty, the water sparkling under the white floodlights. The other lifeguards had all gone to bed. "Spencer!" I tried to call to him, but my voice came out a hushed whisper. "Spencer?" The sound seemed to bounce off the pavement and hover in heavy, wet night air. I took a few uncertain steps toward the pool, searching for him, squinting into the bright light. His shadow fell over me as he leapt out in front of me, blocking my path. His dark eyes burned into mine. His expression was hard, his jaw clenching and unclenching. "Spencer? What did that woman mean?" I blurted out. "Why did she say Spencer was dead?" "Spencer had to die," he said softly. So soft the words barely reached me. I had to be a lifeguard. For Terry. Spencer died so I could be the lifeguard. He took a step closer to me. The darkness of his shadow fell over me. "And now, Marissa, you have to die too," he said. Chapter 41. Marissa. I still didn't understand. I guess I didn't want to believe what he was saying. You're going to kill me?" I shrieked, more in disbelief than in fear. His dark eyes remained on mine, unblinking. When he spoke, he sounded so calm. "I have to kill you, Marissa. You know too much. Anyway, it's your turn. I already made the choice. You were always going to be next." You killed Cassie and Pug?" I stammered. I took a step back, stumbling over a deck chair. A wave of fear swept over me. I finally realized the danger I was in. He nodded. "See? You know too much," he said, still calm. "And sooner or later, your memory will come back totally. Then you'll really remember who I am." As he said those words, I did remember him. It was as if a curtain lifted. The dark shadow faded from my eyes. "You're not Spencer. You're Jack," I murmured. Yes, I remembered him. Jack Mouser. Everyone called him Mouse. You were here 2 years ago," I stammered, pointing at him, remembering everything so clearly now. "You were here, Jack, but you weren't a lifeguard." A strange, bitter smile formed on his face. "That's right, Marissa," he said softly. "Terry and I, we worked in the kitchen. We wanted to be lifeguards. Man, did we want to be lifeguards." The bitter smile became a sneer. But we were Terry and Mouse, the kitchen dudes. And we teased you, I remembered. We made fun of you, didn't we? You were so eager to be lifeguards. We made you think. You made us think we could be lifeguards, he said, his voice suddenly rising in anger. Your lifeguard friends told Terry and me you could certify us. Remember? Remember all the things you made us do? I did remember. We were pretty hard on the two of them. We thought it was such a riot. You made us do 20 dives each one night, remember? Mouse demanded angrily. You made Terry and me drop to the bottom of the pool and hold our breath till we almost drowned. You made us run 50 laps around the pool in flip-flops. Yes, I remembered. It was all a joke, he murmured, glaring at me with such hatred I had to lower my eyes. All a cruel joke. After Terry and I did everything, after we passed your test, then you told us we were total jerks. You were only kidding. You couldn't certify us. You... His voice caught in his throat. It was mean, I admitted, still avoiding his stare. It was really mean, Mouse. But it was just a joke. Just a joke, he screamed, losing control. Just a joke? Listen to me, Marissa. Terry was a messed up dude. Terry was a great guy. He was my best friend. But he was a messed up dude. What do you mean? I asked hesitantly. He had problems, Mouse replied bitterly. Terry had a lot of personal problems. Last summer, he tried out for Lifeguard, and he was rejected. He was messed up, Marissa. He couldn't take being rejected. He had too many other problems. He went home, and he killed himself. Oh! A loud, startled cry escaped from my throat. I'm so sorry, Mouse, but you can't blame... So I came to pay the lifeguards back, Mouse said, lowering his voice again. One by one. But we're not the same lifeguards, I protested. I'm not crazy, he shot back. I know that. But I don't care. Terry doesn't care either. They're lifeguards, Marissa, and they're all going to die. But Mouse, I protested, taking a step back. Bye, Marissa, he said quietly and calmly. Bye, Marissa. It's your turn now. Chapter 42. Marissa. Mouse, wait, I cried, raising both hands as if to shield myself. He shook his head. The coldest smile spread over his face, the coldest, cruelest smile I had ever seen. Mouse, please? I searched the entire pool area. Where was Danny? Where was Pete? Where was anyone who could help me? It grew so silent, so eerily silent. All I could hear was the soft splash of the water against the sides of the pool, and the violent beating of my heart. Mouse, let me go, I cried, my voice just above a hushed whisper. I was so happy to see you here when I arrived, Mouse continued, ignoring me. I was so happy to see that you were messed up too, that you didn't even know your own name. It was such a lucky break for me. I could kill the lifeguards and make everyone think you did it. You mean? I hesitated. You were the one whispering to me? You were the one calling me to Cassie and Pug? He nodded. Enough talk. Bye, Marissa. I tried to get away, but I ran into another deck chair. He grabbed me around the waist. His other hand pulled my hair. He twisted me, yanked my head back, dragged me. I tried to struggle away, but he was stronger than he looked. Too strong. I tried to call for help, but he slid a hand over my mouth. I twisted and tried to kick at him. I tried to bite his hand, but he was too strong, too strong. He dragged me toward the pool. The pavement slipped out from under me. I plunged down. The water rose up over my head, so cold. Leaning over the pool edge, he held me down. One hand held my shoulder. The other hand gripped my hair. He pushed my head down. I thrashed my arms frantically. I couldn't get free. He held me under. I couldn't breathe. I kicked and swung my arms, but he held on tight, held me under until my lungs were about to burst. The water felt so cold, so freezing cold. I struggled to get away from him, but I was losing strength. My chest! My chest! I'm going to drown, I told myself. Chapter 43. Marissa. Drowning. Drowning. My body went limp. I stopped struggling. My arms slid weakly down to my sides. Slowly, Mouse let go of my shoulder. Then I felt his hand loosen its grip on my head. As soon as I knew I was floating free, I raised my arms and pulled myself to the surface. I saw Mouse, his back to the pool now. He turned suddenly, gaping at me in surprise. At that instant, I could see in his face that he knew I had faked it. I'd pretended to drown so he let me go. Now before he could get away, I thrust myself up and reached out. I grabbed his ankles and pulled him on top of me into the water. He tried to punch me with his fist, but I slid away. I grabbed his shoulders and shoved him under. We were groaning and crying out as we wrestled. He pulled my hair, wrapped his arm around my throat, tried to choke me. Then suddenly, I heard a cry, a splash. Mouse turned away from me, startled. I saw 2 hands dive at him, grab his face. I was no longer fighting him alone. "Mayanne," I managed to gasp. She grasped Mouse in a tight chokehold. I pinned his arms behind him. Together we dragged him to the shallow end. I saw Danny and Deidre running across the pavement to help us. Arnie was behind them. He was still in his street clothes. He must have just gotten back. We all held Mouse down. Danny sent Arnie to call the police. "Did Spencer kill Cassie and Pug?" Mayanne demanded, shaking water from her hair. Her shorts and t-shirt were soaked to her skin. I saw that she had dived in to help me with her sneakers on. "He isn't Spencer," I told her. "Before summer started, he killed Spencer and took his place. His name is Jack Mouser. He's the one. He killed them both. He told me." In the confusion, I hadn't realized that Pete was with us too. He and Danny held Mouse down. Mouse had given up. He no longer struggled. "I did it for you, Terry," he said loudly, staring up at the sky as if in a daze. "I did it for you. I know you can hear me, Terry." I stood up. I couldn't stop shivering. Mayanne walked over and wrapped me in a tight hug. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry that I suspected you." I let out a relieved sigh. "I suspected you too," I confessed. Mayanne let go and took a step back, her expression surprised. "You suspected me? Where were you those nights?" I asked. "The nights of the murders." She brought her face close to mine. "I was with Pete," she whispered. "We've been seeing each other back home, but there's a rule against him dating the lifeguards. He could lose his job, so I sneaked out." "Is that what you and Pug were arguing about in front of the weight room?" I asked her. Mayanne nodded. "Pug found out about Pete and me. He was threatening to tell, just for fun." I could hear sirens in the parking lot. The police were arriving. "You girls go get dried off," Danny called. Mayanne and I walked toward the guest house, arm in arm. "I have to call my parents," I said. "I have to call them right away." "What are you going to tell them?" she asked, holding open the door. "That I'm okay," I replied. This has been a Nightfall Audiobooks production of The Dead Lifeguard by R.L. Stine, a Fear Street Super Chiller, Book 6. Hi, this is Chris again with Nightfall Audiobooks, and thank you very much for joining me for my production of The Dead Lifeguard. I gotta say, I went into this book, it's 185 pages long, but it's 43 chapters and it's 4 parts. It had good imagery, good characterizations. I didn't know what was happening until the very end. I was waiting for the twist to come. When Deidre and Mayanne were messing around in the pool at the end there, and Deidre was wearing the blue bikini, I said to myself, there it is, that's it. Lindsay is going to freak out. She's going to think that Deidre is the girl in the blue bikini that she's been seeing dead in the pool, and something will happen. And I was right. Lindsay wasn't really Lindsay, she was Marissa. She assumed Lindsay's identity because of an accident where she accidentally killed Lindsay. So that's a really good twist ending. What I didn't expect was for Spencer to also be Jack Mouser to try to kill the lifeguards in retaliation because his best friend Terry went and killed himself because he wasn't able to be a lifeguard. Hazing some cooks into thinking that they can be certified lifeguards is pretty messed up. It's unfortunate that Terry took it so seriously and he went and killed himself. Overall, this was a pretty good novel. It's amazing how I've been doing this for so long, and R.L. Stine still has me guessing on what will happen next. This book was requested by a listener. Thank you very much for the recommendation, and this book is for you. You know who you are. What should I do next? I don't know. Give me suggestions. Write me an email, nightfallaudiobooks@gmail.com. I am also on YouTube at Nightfall Audiobooks. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. So tell your friends, tell your mom, tell whoever you think would like to listen to me tell them tales from R.L. Stine. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next time.